Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters, and welcome to our review of Bury Me Twice.
Tell me everything you know about zombies.
Yes, so friend of the show, Stephen LaMorte, is back with another wonderful addition to the horror genre. Yes, this is the director of The Mean One, who we got to sit down and talk with just this past December, our first interview ever on the channel, which was great when we got to hear back from him. Yes, this was something that when he threw this across our desk, I was very intrigued. The idea of a zombie noir film. I look at the trailer, I'm getting some Sin City vibes, I'm getting some Night of the Living Dead vibes, and I gotta say, this not being attached to a parody or an IP of any kind, I was really curious to see what Steven would be able to accomplish, kind of playing with, solely his own property. So, when going into this, obviously, people are going to maybe call out and say, oh, is there a little bit of bias here because, you guys like the dude and he talks to you on your show? I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I'm looking at this film objectively. If you look at our review for The Mean One, we had a lot of criticisms for that. We weren't super pleased with it. And, we still ended up having a wonderful conversation with Steven afterwards. So I went into this very objectively. And where I had a lot of criticisms with The Mean One, I think just now getting into the idea and the process of what it took behind this film and seeing what kind of a budget this film has, I was definitely pretty impressed with what they were able to pull off. Do I think that this is an incredible movie? Do I think that this is something that is going to, shake up the genre, blow the doors off the place? No. But I am not going to sit here and tell you guys that I didn't have a good time with it. I did have a lot of fun with Bury Me Twice.
And I'm in the same boat with you as well. Like Dylan said, we weren't too pleased with The Mean One. And, I think with that one, it's maybe hard waters to navigate where it is an established IP and we don't really know what tone you're going to go with when you sit down in that theater and, take it all in. Whereas Bury Me Twice, from the original trailer, it was just like, I think I know what I'm in for here. And I think this one, for me, for my money, I think I got what I came for. Like when you hear zombies, I think everyone in 2023 now is like maybe a little grown, and it's like I think we have a little fatigue here. So what can you do to kind of refresh this genre and get something new? And I think Stephen LaMorte really did it here with this melding of the noir with the zombie subgenre. And, I think he balances it perfect where it's like, I think he does lean into the horror, but he also leans heavy into the noir. There's a lot of stuff, especially in the openings here. It's been a minute since we've actually watched it, but I know this film really plays like a noir before we inject a lot of the horror into it. And, I think that already, as a horror fan and you're getting into a film like this, I think it's successfully written enough that it takes you on that thrill ride to be already invested before we even get to the horror. Because I think the setting, the aesthetic that is brought here, really just from the opening, really takes you on that ride and gets you invested.
It does. And, one of the things that I was really taken aback by from this is, again, we had a lot of criticisms for The Mean One and just a lot of the CGI heavy nature of it when it comes to the violence and everything, as to where this one is basically entirely CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And it has this noir aesthetic to it, again, very much in the vein of like a Sin City. And I think it works tremendously for this concept. I thought that it was one of those things where so much of this, all of it is, basically CGI other than our actors and a handful of props, that it was one of those things where you start to, get enveloped in the world and see it as almost like a comic book. And, I thought that it had that graphic novel appeal to it. And I think that, yes, it's a lot of fun to sit back and once you like really let yourself go and let that kind of absorb you, you do kind of tend to start to forget that, you know, you're watching something that's shot on green screen, and it more just sucks you in with just the style. And again, I gotta say, the story of it, the performances as a noir film, it does a really good job of building up this mystery. And, you know, it was one of those things where about, you know, 40 minutes into the film, you know, things start to kick off a little heavier with the zombie stuff. And I was genuinely like, oh shit. Like, I honestly, for a minute there, forgot that we were even dealing with zombies. I was just more entrenched in what was going on with our detective character and, you know, the damsel in distress that he's working with, and, you know, just the underbelly of this city. And I got to give him props for that, because that was something that I did not really expect, you know, coming into this. You know, I know that Steven really likes to try to write characters, or at least work with his team to write characters that are more compelling and more interesting, and tries to leave the effects as kind of like, you know, the set dressing, just the way you're kind of supposed to do it. But I'd say so more so in this than the mean one. I was more enveloped with these characters. I was more on board with seeing their story, and more on board with following them through to the end. And it makes for a more satisfying project for sure.
You know, and I think there's a lot of character development here, and there is an actual, development that we're taking on a ride, so to speak. Of it's one of those things where you do see these characters coming out from the very beginning, very different toward the end of it, just because of what they had
Hmm.
went through, and the journey is there. Where the mean one, maybe I know we keep mentioning going back to that one, but it wasn't necessarily there for me. Whereas this one, you can really see them kind of taking out these characters and opening them up a little bit more, and even going into the aesthetic, the effects that the undertaking that this was, even the making this a period piece, and knowing that this is a micro budgeted film. That's a big risk to
It
take, where
is.
it's like
That's heavy.
you don't know. Just making it a period piece alone is a risk, and then doubling down and saying this is all the effects that we're going to do. I mean, this film is something where if there wasn't a lot of talent behind it, it never would have worked. And I think with that green screen effect, with the visuals that they bring, just the editing style here really facilitates the runtime on this thing. Like, it was a breeze to get through
Mhm.
for me, and I think that was because of the way that they do almost this graphic novel feeling of they're really taking advantage of the green screen effects as well as the editing style that they bring. It really is a breeze to get through. It really does move through.
Yeah, and you know, again, we're talking about the cast here. I think that Danny Hansen, who plays Jack McGregor, definitely needs to get a shout out here, because he
Yeah,
is kind of the one that's driving this story. He is our center detective,
he's
as
so
you have in
believable.
every noir. He kills it. He's perfect. He plays that very classic noir detective. It's like he has the voiceover and the inner monologue, and he's so damn good. You know, we have Mean One alum Chase Mullins here as Officer Flynn, who's kind of just like the rookie cop in a sense, who kind of gets paired up with him as the outbreak happens. And, you know, it's just one of those things where you're just really, you know, happy to see him come back. He was somebody that I actually had a lot of positive things to say about in the mean one. And, you know, it's something where it's like, I like to see him working again with Steven. I think that he's just got a lot of funny charm to him. And then, you know, obviously we got to talk about, I believe his name is Theodus Crane, who plays Earl. What a great addition. Honestly, they have a couple of moments, you know, between him and Jack in this, and they have not necessarily heart to hearts, but they have some, you know, deeper conversational bits. And I was sitting there saying, you know, like, I really do enjoy these two characters a lot. If I had to pick two characters in the whole film that I was really attached to, it'd be Earl and Jack for sure.
Yeah, and I think going to casting, it really is down to great casting, because noirs are some of my favorite films other than horror to watch. Things like Chinatown or French Connection. Those things are really great films, and it really comes down to that acting ability. So you have to have a believable central character to kind of move the story along. And I think that the casting here was perfect. I mean, it's absolutely believable from every casting choice that they did, and it really, again, it makes you believe in that journey that Stephen LaMorte wants to take you on.
Absolutely. Now, before we kind of wrap things up, I do want to preface this again by saying this is a micro budget film.
Yeah.
We're reviewing such as a micro budget film. If you go into this and want to compare it to something like, a Insidious 5, or, even the Boogeyman from earlier this year, or Evil Dead Rise, you're clearly going to sit here and think that we're taking crazy pills. But that's the thing. This movie was put together with, basically just blood, sweat, and tears of everybody involved. And you can really feel that passion. As people who want to get into this industry ourselves, I do think that we can switch gears in our mindset when it comes to watching something like this and kind of understanding where this is coming from. Do I think, again, that this is breaking any barriers? Is this going to impress a lot of people? Is this going to blow up the charts in any way? No, I don't think so. But I think that if you're a zombie fan, if you're a noir fan, if you're a horror fan, you should definitely check this movie out, because I think that it's a bit of a small gem that you can rent for just a couple of bucks and actually find yourself really enjoying. I definitely sat here and just thought, when I finished this, again, like Luke said, it was a breeze to get through. It had some funny bits. I was really sucked in just with the comic book nature of it, the atmosphere, the way they executed it, and again, the cast is doing a really great job with the material they're given. And I think that, again, they just understand how to write noir and how to tell that story, and then in trend, like, kind of intertwining that zombie stuff is like the cherry on top.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Dylan said, this isn't matching up to anything like Insidious or Evil Dead Rise. This is something that was made on a very small budget with just a lot of creative voices behind it that really wanted to get this vehicle out there. And like looking at everything that we can consume as horror fans, I mean, with Shudder, Screambox, you have a variation of all these budgeted films. And you kind of have to look at it through that lens where, yeah, this isn't something where they had a huge budget at their disposal and they can do anything that they wanted. That was not the case here. And like to look at this for what the film was made on, it's like you can really see that creative voice shine through, the talent that is attached to this to really take you on that ride again. And it's something where looking at the effects, looking at the acting, I think it is a complete package here. Where when you look at it through that lens, there is a lot of appreciation here. And this is a film, us being able to talk to Steven and knowing, what it took to get this film made, again, leaves you inspired to say, not a big budgeted film. It just takes a lot of dedication. It takes, a lot of heart to really get that film out there. And I know that's what we took away from this. And it really does inspire you.
Absolutely. But alrighty, guys, definitely go ahead and check out Bury Me Twice. Know yourself, know what kind of film you're getting into. And if you, like I said, if you're a hardcore horror fan, if you like noir, if you like genre bending stuff, I think that you will appreciate this. If you are an aspiring filmmaker, you should definitely check this out, because again, it is pure creativity and get it done filmmaking on screen to the best of its ability. I think it's a good think piece for anybody who wants to get into this industry. And yes, you can check this thing out on VOD at the moment. You can get it on Amazon. We both rented it on there, and I'll probably be going back and buying it just to support Steven and his endeavors. And also because I said I had a lot of fun with it, and I do see myself actually going back and checking this thing out. But other than that, we do have a wonderful interview coming up with Steven that should be dropping tomorrow. As to when this gets posted, we will see. But yes, we'll be posting that the next day for you guys to check out. We get to talk to him about Bury Me Twice. We talk about The Mean One some more, and just filmmaking in general and what it takes to put together a micro budget horror film. And, he's a wonderful interview. He's somebody that we absolutely love having come back on the show. And we cannot wait to talk to him again. I had a great time with that interview. And yeah, we have a lot to say. So definitely check it out, as well as check out our trailer for Sycophant, which is our short film that we just announced the other day, and this week's past episode of the Sunday Scaries. So, alrighty, guys, I guess that about wraps us up. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.